Welcome to Ask Angela, relationship advice for love after trauma. I'm Angela Amias, here to help you navigate intimate relationships as I answer real questions about love, loss, and everything in between. This is where we untangle old patterns that keep us stuck and discover new possibilities for connection. Relationships after trauma need a different kind of wisdom, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey there, welcome to episode 2. In this episode, I'm going to be answering Maggie's question. Maggie asks, how do I balance hobbies that bring me joy and disappoint my partner at the same time? I'm a burlesque dancer, and my husband is nominally supportive, but winces in disgust and makes an ugh noise anytime the topic is broached, even when it's clear that I'm very excited for what I'm telling him about. He says he will never like or understand it, but he doesn't want to be the reason I quit, and he'd like me to continue doing it as long as it makes me happy. I've been performing since before we were even dating, and I've asked him point blank in the talking process if it would cause any future issues, to which he said, of course not. Help! His disgusted reactions shut me down and make me feel like he would be so much happier if I weren't doing this. This is the singular source of conflict in an otherwise picture-perfect marriage. Please help me understand how to proceed with my art without feeling like I'm betraying my husband. Dear Maggie, I love your question for so many reasons, partly because I always appreciate hearing from people who can say that their marriage is almost picture perfect, and partly because I'm an artist too. But mainly, I love this question because it gives me an opportunity to talk about how to navigate differences in relationships. So let's start with the very last part of your question. You want to know how to proceed with your art without feeling like you're betraying your husband. So, can we talk about betrayal for a moment? Relationship betrayal is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Very few of us would want to imagine ourselves capable of betraying someone that we love deeply. Betrayal has associations with treachery and breaches of faith and trust, stabbing someone in the back. In the Inferno, Dante consigned betrayers to the lowest circle of hell, and that was the worst circle of hell. Betrayal was literally the worst thing you could possibly do in Dante's eyes. So when you use this word betrayal, I hear just how much this situation is weighing on you. And yet, you also say that you've been performing as a burlesque dancer since before you even started dating your husband. And when you shared this part of your life with him in the beginning, he assured you that it wouldn't be a problem for him. So my question is, how are you betraying your husband by continuing to do the thing you told him you did? The thing that brings you joy. You had an open and honest conversation with him about it at the beginning, and he shared what he thought to be true at the time. He said, of course it won't be a problem. In other words, by having an honest conversation, you both demonstrated good faith with each other. It's just that neither of you had the power to predict the future. Back then, your husband imagined that it wouldn't be an issue for him. And it turns out that it's more complicated. I have a lot of empathy for your husband. I imagine he and I have something in common. We have both imagined ourselves to be comfortable with things that we discover later, maybe to our chagrin, actually make us uncomfortable. But even though he's uncomfortable, he says that he doesn't want to be the reason you quit doing something that makes you happy. He says that he supports you, even though he doesn't really get it. But then he makes faces and noises and clearly demonstrates that even though he doesn't want to be the reason you quit, he doesn't really like it. Sometimes it's hard to take people at their word when it seems like their words and their actions don't line up. Your husband has an inner conflict here. There's a part of him that values supporting you and being true to his word. And I think you can take that at face value. He wants you to do the things that make you happy. And then there's the other part of him that feels uncomfortable and maybe has some difficult feelings that get stirred up in him around your burlesque dancing. The hard thing with relationships is that those early conversations we have with a partner aren't going to cover everything that will come up in the future. We can't know then what we will only know later on, down the road, when we've learned more about ourselves and more about our partner. We can't know exactly what questions to ask, where we might press a little more or dig a little deeper. We don't have the ability to predict what sorts of issues might arise in the future in a relationship. And that's why marriage is one big, long learning experience. It's impossible to settle everything in those early conversations. We can't get a guarantee from the other person that something won't become a problem later on, even if it's not a problem now. Maybe they say they don't want kids, but later on, it turns out they do. Or maybe they think they want kids, but later they realize they don't. Or maybe they think there's no way their partner's love of burlesque performance won't be a problem, but later they feel differently. This is why it's so important to approach relationships as an invitation to continually grow as individuals and also grow together as a couple. This is why there's no such thing as putting a relationship on autopilot. Like you could just program it at the beginning to run a straight course without encountering any obstacles or adventures along the way. So what do you do now that you know that the thing you love makes your partner uncomfortable? This question takes us back to where you ended your question, which is how to pursue your art without feeling like you're betraying your husband. So here's what I can see from the outside. You're not betraying your husband by continuing with your passion. You shared it with him up front in the beginning, and he hasn't betrayed you either by going back on his word that it wasn't going to be a problem, because he couldn't predict how he might feel at some point in the future. He had to take his best guess based on how he felt back then. So maybe the problem isn't so much that you think you're betraying him, as it is that you feel like you're betraying him by doing something that makes him uncomfortable. So let me ask you this. What sorts of promises did you make when you two committed to do this life together? Did you promise never to make him uncomfortable? My guess is no, or my hope is no. But maybe you and your husband had an unspoken assumption that loving someone means not doing things that make the other person uncomfortable. Now, most relationships have these kinds of unconscious, unspoken assumptions. It's like we fall in love and we make a commitment, and part of that commitment is what I call a secret relationship contract. Now, these secret relationship contracts are completely unspoken, and we're often not even aware of them. But they sound something like, I promise to never rock the boat, or I promise to never bring up any issues or problems as long as you don't bring up any either, Or, I promise never to talk about your drinking. Or, I promise to never complain about your obnoxious mother. Or, I promise to never make you uncomfortable. All these kinds of secret relationship contracts might work for a while, but over time, they become more and more constraining to both people. It's like planting your relationship in a container that's way too small to go the distance. Relationships that don't grow don't just stand still, they wither. So, from where I'm sitting, this looks like a fantastic growth opportunity for your almost picture-perfect relationship. It looks like an opportunity to love each other through the discomfort. It looks like an invitation to have some deep talks. Could he be curious about why burlesque lights you up? Could you be curious about what's behind those reactions he has? And on that note, Maggie, I'm wishing you a series of long conversations in which you both emerge feeling closer together and more at peace with your differences. And on that note, listener, thanks for tuning in. That's it for this episode of Ask Angela, Relationship Advice for Love After Trauma. If something in this episode resonated with you, come join the conversation at askangela.co. And if you'd like to submit a question of your own to be considered for a future episode, you can also do that at askangela.co. I'll be back soon with another episode, and until then, lots of love.